Hello everybody, it's Sante Starshine here. Welcome to the video today, and I'm going to be exploring the energy of the full moon tomorrow in Libra. And we'll also be talking about the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction and eclipse season. So stay tuned for all of that info. This will be the first full moon of the astrological year that began with the equinox in Aries. And this will also be the last full moon before we have the shift of the eclipse season. The next new moon will be a partial solar eclipse, so that will bring a pretty intense energy. The solar eclipses and lunar eclipses are always a pivot point that happens approximately every 6 months and can bring a lot of transformation, can bring a lot of things that were unconscious to the surface. So with this full moon, we're kind of preparing for that. This full moon is occurring at 1:55 p.m. Central Time. That's 2:55 Eastern, and I can't do all the calculations. Figure it out yourself for your part of the world. Look it up. It's easy to search. And this is in Libra. Libra is this energy of balance. So Libra is a very social energy. It wants to find a lot of connections and friends. It wants everything to be fair and just. Libra wants to create a lot of connections and express love and beauty. It's kind of a fun energy to work with. So we might find that this is a rather festive new moon, full moon, where we're meeting a lot of people and connecting with a lot of other energies. And the moon itself is aspect by Saturn with a trine, and Saturn is joined with Juno. So Juno is about commitments and partnerships and marriages, so there could be some things about relationships coming up. Saturn, when it makes a positive aspect like a trine, brings some more seriousness and focus. It allows us to perhaps get more serious about our emotions and our feelings. The moon is this emotional realm. It's a mental and emotional realm, really. So the moon is like the filter through which we see our reality. So it's important to work with our belief systems and work with our conditioning when we connect with the moon. And Saturn might indicate this is a time to perhaps dig deeper within and get to what those core chronic patterns really might be. So there's 2 asteroids that are connected with this full moon. The Haumea is with the moon and Eris is with the sun. These are both feminine archetypes. Haumea is the fertility goddess of Hawaii, and she is about creative rebirthing, midwifery. It's a very big asteroid out in the reaches of Pluto that's shaped like an egg. So it's about fertility and giving birth. It's about the evolutionary force that happens through our creative process as well. And Eris is this feminine awakening force. The sister of Mars, Eris, is rebellious and likes to stand for justice and stand for personal freedom. So this can be an aspect of bringing up, if you link those 2 themes together, it can be using our creativity to create freedom and to break free and to rebel. There can be a very potent use of that energy. Eris is this justice warrior that is really asking for the tables to turn. And when Eris has these potent aspects, it can bring that to life. When Eris is with the sun, it adds a lot of fire to the force. And Eris opposing the moon can really activate some of that deeper intensity. As for other aspects to the sun and moon themselves, Mars is in this loose sextile with the sun, so that adds some more vigor to our personality. Pluto is square the sun. So while Pluto is square the sun and the moon, rather. So that adds a pretty intense energy here. Pluto's in Capricorn, and Pluto is the planet of death and transformation. And it's interesting how all of these, the most major, the biggest outer lying Plutonian objects, trans-Neptunian objects, whatever you decide to call them, are all in this square here. And Pluto is death, transformation, rebirth, passion, obsession. And it can bring perhaps a deeper brooding quality to the energy of this moon. And it can bring us to, yes, a deep pivot point when the Pluto is so connected to a full moon. This is a moon for rebirthing ourselves, for digging up those places that we're still giving away our power. Pluto is so much about power. So especially as we connect Pluto with Eris here, it's about reclaiming our power. Where have we given up our power? And perhaps there is disruptions or rebellions in reclaiming that power. And with this full moon, that's perfectly okay. Just always with these intense energies, you want to do it in a conscious way. That's why astrology is so powerful, because it helps us to recognize what energies are present. So we, instead of reacting to things that come up, we see that it was aligned in the stars. And so all of this is very powerful, especially for people who have planets in the cardinal signs of Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, especially if it's in those later degrees, because all of this is taking place at 26 degrees of Aries and Libra. Air signs will benefit from this full moon, and to a lesser extent fire signs will as well. At the time of the full moon, we have Mercury getting very close to Uranus, and a lot of astrologers say that there's an essential link between Uranus and Mercury. Mercury representing the lower mind and the intellect that's studying and figuring things out rationally, and Uranus representing a higher mind that has intuitive insight and sudden knowing, that doesn't have to study but obtains the information. So when Uranus and Mercury are together, in natal charts, it makes somebody who's unusually intelligent and changes the paradigm in terms of known knowledge. When they come together in a transit, it can mean that individuals or groups of people have epiphanies and deep, sudden awakenings that, again, change the game, change the way that we see things, and that it's a really good time for everybody to work with their mind deeper, to go to deeper levels. And if there's something you've been studying or wanting to understand, take a moment to look at it around this full moon, as you might find that there is this boost of energy, and that conjunction will be exact in the day following the full moon. Mercury will be exactly on top of Uranus. Those planets are also joined by the North Node in the sign of Taurus, and so the North Node is growing increasingly close to Uranus. They're close enough now that you could say they are conjoined. The exact conjunction will take place in July. Personally, I find the energy of Uranus and the North Node very similar, and they might just be part of that same sort of energy. But Uranus is much more about insight, liberation, understanding, evolution. But in the same way as the North Node, it can have this function of creating things that are sudden, are unexpected. That's what I meant to say, unexpected and sudden. And the North Node has a more of a shadowy quality to it. It is present where there is any level of delusion or deception or confusion. But the North Node is also connected to a kind of rebelliousness, and there's a trickster energy to the North Node. The North Node also is connected to foreign travels and studies. In Western astrology, many astrologers talk about this North Node as a point of evolution and growth. And right now, at the time of making this video, there is an aspect to the node as well that's an in conjunction, but anyway, that's less important. Losing my train of thought a little bit. Let me keep going. The North Node being, it's hungry. It's a head without a body that is perpetually hungry and trying to eat and consume more. So this represents our inner cravings, and it is the cravings that lead us to delusion or confusion or sorts of situations that are not necessarily pure. But I don't like to think just the negative things about the North Node. This is also what brings us to evolve, brings us out of our comfort zone, brings us to gravitate towards our destiny. So there's a couple different factors going on there. You can say a positive aspect of the North Node would be something considered tantric, would be the power of transmuting the lower, denser desires into some positive potential. So the North Node approaching Uranus is going to highlight this deeper force of rebellion that can be awakening in humanity. And this is happening kind of around the same time as the North Node, Uranus and Saturn square each other again. Uranus is getting support from the North Node to even further defeat Saturn. If you've been paying attention to astrology, you probably have heard about this Uranus-Saturn square that incites many of the conflicts or the suppression of human rights, basically, that has taken place by many world governments during the COVID thing, the virus thing. And Uranus squaring Saturn again with the support of the North Node can mean we are defeating it. And it can mean also that there is more momentum, emotional charge to the masses and pushing back against this control of the authority that is so much in our way. And that's, again, an ongoing influence that's going to peak in July, but we're having another pretty monumental shift right now with Jupiter and Neptune they are connected together in Pisces. And Jupiter and Neptune are both they're both rulers of Pisces. They're both deeply connected to this. And so when they come together in their own sign, this is really positive and powerful. And it brings us to experience some of these deeper qualities that Pisces has. It puts us in a space where we might be very dreamy, might be very romantic, we might be very inclined towards the spiritual, we might be contemplating our deeper spiritual purpose, we might be wanting to study new sorts of spiritual knowledge or healing knowledge, we might be inclined to kind of drift off into other worlds. And all of this is usually quite good. It's just a matter of making sure that we take care of everything else as well. Neptune has two sides to it, as does every planet. And the positive side of Neptune is that spirituality and connecting to other realms. But the negative shadow of Neptune is the overindulgence, is partying, is intoxication on many substances, is kind of like a mania. And in that mania, we don't see things clearly. So Neptune is also connected with delusions, mental diseases, and all sorts of psychotic episodes. So people who have that innately going on for them might experience an acceleration and challenge in that realm because of this influence. And Neptune, it really just depends where you have planets in your chart, but I would say anything that is in a mutable sign can experience the challenge of a square from Neptune or an opposition. So Gemini, Virgo, and Sagittarius placements are all perhaps subject to a bit of a challenge if you have them in that 20 degrees zone of Pisces, of those signs. Depends what the planets are and depends on their strength, of course. We do have right now Venus exalted in Pisces, and Venus makes aspect to Uranus and to Mercury. So Venus aspect to Mercury, it's a great time for exchanges between lovers and friends. Venus trine Uranus, it's a time where there can be evolution and growth in our relationships and in our friendships and in the way that we love and tend to the more pleasurable aspects of life in general. Venus loves Pisces, and here Venus is exalted and can bring a lot of powerful expressions of art and creativity. So, excuse me, know that everybody has a bit of a boost to their creative momentum right now, and this can be used to your advantage by focusing on your creative projects and giving them all you've got with them. All right. That'll do for that view of the chart. And so I have been studying Western astrology for 10 years, and I recently got very intrigued by Sidereal Vedic astrology. The Sidereal zodiac is actually what we see in the sky, whereas the Western zodiac is based on the equinox and this linking the equinox with 0 degrees of Aries. Both of these methods have validity, and I still see Western astrology as working a lot, though I'm really excited about Vedic astrology too. So pardon me if this confuses you by mentioning the planets in different signs, but it's another way of seeing things. And in Vedic astrology, you don't just have one chart, you have like 20 or 30 charts. They're based off the first chart, but you get to see the planets moving through many different signs. And even in Western astrology, you have a progressed chart, you have a draconian chart. So there's so many different charts and ways of seeing ourselves. So I like to look at both of them. And now when we see this through the perspective of the Vedic astrology, it actually puts a lot of planets together. So Jupiter, Neptune, Venus, and Mars are all together in the same sign of Aquarius. That being Saturn's sign, it's a kind of denser, tougher energy connected with society and society's growth, connected with our income, evolution, technology. All of these planets are oriented in that way, and they're working together to support this energy of Aquarius. That is the fixed air element. And so with all of them together, Venus and Mars, again, we've still had this dynamic is still playing out a little bit, but this is greater passion and intensity in our relationships. And Jupiter adds some wisdom to it and brings us a higher perspective. So as those planets catch up with Jupiter, there is some sort of more transcendental vibes carrying through. But in Vedic, the sidereal chart, Jupiter is just about to switch into Pisces, and Jupiter is at home in Pisces. We see already Jupiter at home in Pisces. From the perspective of Western astrology, it's a really good place for it. And now that continues into the sidereal chart, Jupiter in Pisces. And there Jupiter will be very happy and bringing us better results. Again, connecting with spirituality, meditation, healing, and things of that nature. Pisces is the most mystical sign of the zodiac. So Jupiter there will bring us to focus more on that aspect of life. And also, Jupiter is still in Pisces and Western, and will enter Aries for a little bit later on in the year, and then regress back into Pisces. So we've got, as well, the Sun with Mercury, Uranus, and Rahu in Aries. And this adds Rahu into the mix of the Sun-Mercury thing. Mercury plus the Sun makes for a very sharp mind, but Rahu there makes for an interest in more of the occult or taboo side of experiences. So you might find with this full moon, we are more drawn into that, and it is just the ongoing of eclipse season. So let's talk about eclipse season, because the next lunation will be the new moon that is a solar eclipse, and it'll be on April 30th. And so eclipses again help us to reset and release. So it's important that we don't plan anything too important for the days of the eclipse, and take the time for meditation and inward focus. As eclipses tend to bring up so many emotions to the surface, we can experience a very intense surge of energy. It releases blocked emotional energies. Eclipses, they're created by these lunar nodes that are represented by serpents. The north node being the head of the serpent, the south node being the tail. The solar eclipse is created by the south node of the moon. So the next one upcoming will have more of this spiritual focus to it. Blocking out the sun, it connects us to the beyondness. It connects us to the void. K2, or the south node, is a planet of spirituality, renunciation, but is also a planet of loss and grieving. So all of those things can be present, and we can embrace kind of connecting with those deeper emotions within us with this time. But if we bring it to be a focus upon our spirituality, it will be an immense support. So the eclipse will be in Taurus. It will be, in Western terms, a Taurus eclipse. In Vedic terms, it will be an Aries eclipse. And what's true about, regardless of whatever sign it's in, if it impacts your chart, it will impact your chart, because everything is moved 24 degrees back, and there's a 6-degree window. So some of your signs won't change, but almost everything is just the same, but 24 degrees behind. So we're still impacted by it whatever angle we look at it from. And then 2 weeks after that, the next full moon will be a lunar eclipse. Lunar eclipses bring out this energy of Rahu, which is, yes, evolution, and the soul's cravings and desires. Can also be delusion and confusion. And it's important with these full moon lunar eclipses that we really bring ourselves to focus. And in the Vedic traditions and some other traditions, it's encouraged not to watch them, but I don't really believe in that. But I do think that as we do watch them, we need to bring a very particular intention, because if we just watch them, if we're kind of not focused, shooting the shit with friends, we can kind of not be as clear with the intense energy that the eclipse is bringing through. So it's best to do it in a ceremonial way where we really allow ourselves to receive the energy of this eclipse and let it wash through us. And indeed, it will be intense. So set your intentions and let this full moon prepare you for the waves of release and revelation that are to come with eclipse season, and just get a little bit more hunkered down, because eclipse season can make things kind of haywire, and it's good to view it as if you view Mercury retrograde, even though the energy is different, but be more turned inwards and more aware, more than anything else, just more aware of your own emotions and where they're guiding you to not go against the flow of your intuition by denying your emotions. And if you can do that, the eclipse will really help you get in a clear space. But if you are moving through eclipse season in a state of unconsciousness, it can really throw you off. And I've experienced that before, like after years of observing eclipse season, last eclipse a year ago in eclipse season, I forgot to check in that it was eclipse season, and it really threw me on a curveball, kind of an adventure. So stay tuned with eclipse season and allow it to ground and center you rather than throw you off. So thanks for tuning in, everybody, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will catch you next time. The channeling session next week will be at a different time, and I'll let everybody know about that. Different date and time, and I might be on a couple week break from doing the weekly channeling sessions, but I'm still available for at least the next week for readings and for channeling sessions. So tune in with me if you'd like to, and I'll catch you next time. Much love, and yes, my website's DanteStarshine.com. If you go there, you can sign up for my mailing list and get updates. Peace and love, everybody. Have a great day.